What's up, everyone? Coach Tony here. Welcome to this special training we're calling Preparing for an Engineering Pathway. This is a really awesome session. We had a lot of people request this specific training, so we are here to deliver for you guys. So in this session, we are going to do a little bit of like a 101 session, talk to you guys a little bit about engineering admission, what makes it a little different. We're going to talk about academic strategies for those who are interested in engineering, what types of classes, what does the academics need to look like, and then talk about activity strategy as well too. And then, luckily for you guys, we brought two of our top MIT coaches here. We have Coach Sarah and Coach Michelle. They're going to share with you their journey, as well as you can kind of see like real life examples of folks that kind of went through the journey and kind of made it, and again, at one of the top engineering schools in the world as well too. And then we're going to open it up to some Q&A. So people who are joining us a little earlier, who are here live, if you're watching the replay, you're watching us from the future. But for everyone here, there's a Q&A box. As you have questions, again, start popping them in the chat, and then we'll compile them. We'll do a little bit of Q&A at the end just to help you guys out as best we can. Okay. That being said, first off, for some of you guys in the chat, really quick, if you are new, it's your first time joining any of our calls, drop a 1 in the chat. If it's their very first time coming to any of our trainings, any of our videos, drop a 1 down below. If that's your first time ever joining anything that we're doing, fantastic. Lots of 1s going down. Beautiful. And if you're one of our veterans, you've been here once or twice, go ahead and drop a 2 in the chat. If you kind of this is not your first rodeo, you've been to our training before, drop a quick 2. Awesome, fantastic. People who are our amazing returns, they know their mind's about to be blown as well too, right? So for a lot of our number one friends who are just joining us for the very first time, right? Let me do a quick little re-intro. My name is Coach Tony. I'm actually the founder and CEO of egelloC. egelloC is the word college backwards, because our goal is to help you guys work backwards to get to your college admissions goals as well too. My background actually was a former UC Berkeley admissions reader myself, so I was behind the scenes reading apps saying yes or no to students. So I did say yes to engineering students. So a lot of students I said yes to made their way to Berkeley as well during my time. And then that's that. And I got to become a director at UCLA after that. So the last 16 years, we've been helping families get into colleges, not just at the UC system, but our students went everywhere as well too. In fact, and our students go literally to all top colleges you can think of all across the nation as well too, not just in California, but the Ivies and kind of everything in between. In fact, some of our most recent seniors, these were some of the success stories from our most recent class, our 2025. So you can see here, another MIT student here, USC, UPenn, Chapman with a $90,000 scholarship, Cornell, Caltech, NYU, Berkeley, Boston, Columbia, Santa Clara, LMU, San Diego, UCLA, UCSD, Carnegie Mellon, Northeastern, and more engineering. So lots and lots of amazing stories that our students have gone into. So our goal here is kind of pull back the curtains, give you guys kind of the real feedback that we actually give our coaching family, so you guys can take advantage of it and help your families out as well too. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive straight in. Again, we're gonna do a quick little one-on-one intro. Again, if you have any questions as we're going through, again, don't feel to hesitate. Just drop your question in the chat. We'll do a little Q&A at the very end. So first off, what makes engineering admissions a little different than regular admissions, right? So how admission works is that most colleges out there, they admit by college, right? So you see like a school name like the UC Berkeley. When you look up UC Berkeley college, because university like the university, they have different colleges under them. All schools do this. There's different colleges under each one. So under the College of Berkeley, for example, there's the College of Arts and Science, College of Engineering, College of Natural Resources, College of Environmental Design. So all these different colleges, right? So when you're applying to the college themselves. The big thing is that there's going to be overlays that they're looking for in certain fields. We'll talk about that in today's study, because that's going to be the academics and activities. So as you're applying in different colleges, there's different overlays or things that a reader is trained to look for in your application itself. And the reason why engineering is competitive, it's a pure economics 101 kind of problem, right? There's supply and demand. There's more students who want to be engineers than spaces at the schools as well too. So that's kind of the reason why it gets really competitive to get in compared to some of the other majors out there. Okay, so starting first with some academic strategy. So Earlier, for those who joined us earlier, I asked what grades we are here. We have some families who are joining us as a rising 10th, 12th grader. We have some juniors here, some sophomores, some freshmen. We have some even younger students, right? We have some middle school families who are starting really early as well too. So here's some high level strategies to keep in mind from an academic lens through this whole journey. First off, one thing that we actually teach inside our coach manuals is a little contradictory what a lot of people say. We tell our families to ignore GPA. It's just a vanity metric, right? Again, does it matter? Kinda, but not really. Like, a lot of people make decisions based on this. The thing that we tell families is that it doesn't tell the full story, right? So again, it tells you kinda, but not really. So instead of just the GPA, what we have our students focus on is strong grade trends. Meaning, over the 4 years, did you have like, we call them high plateau grades? A lot of A's, right? If you end up getting a B, again, not the end of the world. So, too, don't freak out, right? But again, many A's as you can is going to be the key here. Or let's say some of you guys had a rough transition from middle school to high school. So freshman year wasn't so hot, but over the years, you're able to show resilience and your grades shot up over the years. That's another awesome sign that the readers are trained to look for as well too. So again, your focus one is strong grade trends. But that's not the most important thing to keep in mind. The most important thing that we encourage our students to focus on is academic rigor. So academic rigor, you see it's like the honors level courses, the AP level courses, the IB level courses, the college level courses as well too. This is basically the difficulty of your schedule, right? That's gonna be the big thing there. The reason why it is so important, again, schools like MIT, these top colleges that you're probably gonna be applying for, right? They wanna make sure that if they say yes to you, not only are you gonna be okay, you're gonna be thriving at the school as well, too. Because they don't want to say yes to you only for you to flunk out or not be able to handle the workload at the school. That's why the rigor gives us that context to understand that as well too. Right? So that's gonna be the academic rigor section itself. Important note here, right? Keep in mind, rigor is all rigor. A lot of people like to think, oh, just because I'm a engineering student, I don't need to focus on my math, on my English or my history, because that's not math related. No, 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 right? Rigor is all. Keep in mind, high school is still general education. You haven't specialized in anything yet. That's when you start to college. And you'll hear today's stories with Coach Michelle and Coach Sarah, is that Coach Sarah has gotten even more to like higher education, right? Master's, PhD level as well, too. That's when you get even, that's when you start to specialize in a certain field as well, too. So again, high school is still like the foundation. So again, rigor still matters in all classes, not just the math and the sciences, okay? But the important thing to keep in mind, because some people will probably be saying like, hey, my school doesn't offer a lot of APs. My school doesn't offer a lot of this as well too. Don't worry, right? The big thing to keep in mind also is that admissions does comparison within the context of the school. What that means is that they're comparing you against two groups of people. Number one is your region, right? So when it comes to your region, it's kind of where you guys are located. So those of you in California, different regions like Bay Area, LA, if you're like the US, like Northeast, Texas, different regions as well too here. That's kind of one part. Because again, for the most part, the regions are very similar in terms of like in terms of like the averages, right? But that's also kind of broad for some people. So the best comparison I would say is usually against your high school, because your high school technically is fair, right? In theory, right? In theory is fair. Everyone has the same opportunity to rigorous courses. So our goal is, so the little pro tip we have is, assuming you're aiming for top colleges, our goal is to help you kind of max out the rigor relative to the top student at your school. It's a pretty good benchmark. And you have, again, keep in mind all this, do you have to? No, right? But this is kind of usually some general trends. You can see a lot of our students did really well. We told them all this. This kind of, so I would kind of follow the tips over here as well there. Okay, so that's gonna be the high level strategy. So now let's get a little more tactical in this, right? So when it comes to the tactical, when it comes to the overlay, right? The overlay, again, what are classes that a reader is trained to look for? Specifically for engineering, they're looking for math, and physics, right? Math and physics. So starting first with math, right? So when it comes to the math requirements, what we like to recommend is a minimum of calculus BC. Calculus BC is the equivalent of calculus 2 at your high school as well too, right? So BC, so wherever you're at right now, you can kind of map it out. Math is pretty linear, so you can kind of walk yourself way through the whole process. Your goal is to get to calculus BC at the minimum. That being said, again, some more competitive regions, Bay Area, New Jersey, for a lot of these schools, BC is like almost a minimum at these schools. So again, we actually encourage them, hey, try to get that done earlier because there is more. BC is not the highest. BC is the highest for high school, but from a high school student, there are students doing a lot more. A lot of our students did a lot more. So what you could do is if you finish BC by junior year or earlier, you're able to take college level math, higher level math at the local community college as well too. For example, classes after calculus 2 would be their multivariable calculus, your linear algebra, your differential equations as well too. And the only way to do that is if you finish by junior year. If you don't finish by junior year, really, really hard to stick it in the schedule over here too. Okay, so that's one overlay. The other overlay for an engineering student is physics, right? So when it comes to physics, again, we like to recommend AP Physics 1, C, and E as well too. What if your school doesn't offer physics? And that's probably the most common because a lot of schools do offer the math up to BC, but some schools don't offer the physics series, right? They offer AP Bio, AP Chem, APES, right? But not the physics, right? Don't use that as an excuse though, right? College doesn't want to know. It's okay if you don't have the resources. College want to know how resourceful can you be? That's the big key right there, right? So it's not about resources, but how resourceful. So again, if your school doesn't offer it, let's try to go out of our way to try to get this in as well too. So for example, some external ways to get it, UC Scout, BYU, Silicon Valley, these different like online schools are able to help you fulfill these requirements. It's accredited online AP. You get to take the test after, get the college credit. So that's another option for you. So you can't say, oh, my school doesn't have it, because again, engineers, I'm sure one of the soft skills is being able to think outside the box, being a little creative as well too, right? So again, being like this is how you apply the skills in from an academic lens. Okay, so that's one of the things. Academic overlays. Is there a lot more things you should? Yes, but the high level things, these are like the summary of the high level, the academic overlays. The second big thing after academics is your activities, right? So when it comes to activities, a few strategies first. First one, we like to have our students focus on time allocation. How much time are you spending on your activities, right? We see that a lot of our top performing students that ends up like the Ivies and these top 25, top 50 colleges, they average around 20, 30 hours of activities per week. Does that mean you have to? No, don't treat this as like you have to do it. We said this is kind of what our little benchmark for our students are. They tend to hit it, they tend to get in. That's kind of, it works for a lot of our students over here, right? The other thing about the activities is that there's two buckets of activities you should have on your profile. Number one, I call it tasting your major, right? Tasting your major is showing evidence that you're interested in your field. So for specifically in this training, engineering, you're interested in engineering, you're showcasing that you're interested in engineering is part one. The second part, which is also equally as important, is what things do you do that like brings the student joy, that they enjoy to do, that's not engineering related. Because again, all the engineers, I bet you if I ask all the engineers in this room what activities you're doing, you're going to list out the same. Oh, we're all doing VEX. We're all doing robotics. We're all doing very similar things as well too. But if I ask you what else do you, so but then you look the same. In the spirit of standing out just means don't look like everyone else. What else are you doing outside of engineering? So that's the things that you enjoy that's not engineering related. You're interested in sports, you're interested in volunteering, community groups, other things you do. That's the second bucket as well too. Okay. And I want to give you guys a fun little gift because a lot of people always ask me like, what do I do? What do I do? The answer is always like, do what the kids want to do, but no one's ever happy with that answer. So what we did was we went ahead and compiled a few ideas for you guys in this session. So first off, in the chat, is anyone in the chat, does your child like working solo? Are they more introverted? Or drop a quick one in the chat. If that sounds like your kid likes being a little solo, they're a little more introverted as a nature as well too. a few folks, right? So again, here are some ideas. Not saying you have to do. It's not like a do this list. This is some ideas to start getting the brain thinking as well too, right? So these are all engineering related activities that you can start doing. Number one, tinker with things at home. Start breaking things apart, putting things together when sharing down your apps. Learning coding through free platforms, Python, Java, Scratch, CS50, exploring 3D design with CAD software as well too. Building a Raspberry Pi, those like $40 as well too, right? Arduino projects, the LEDs, meeting robots, do research for a science fair project. These are all kind of awesome things for someone who likes to work a little solo. Okay. Next one. Next one. Is there anyone? Child is hands-on. Kansas maker minded. Drop a quick two in the chat. If your child is very like a hands-on kind of student as well too, they're kind of maker minded. There you go. Lots of twos, right? Too, right? Awesome. Here again, some ideas for you guys to think about, right? One, maybe join a robotics team, an engineering club as well too. They can start building and testing stuff. Building a Rube Goldberg, which these are really cool by the way. If you don't know what it is, go on YouTube, type in Rube Goldberg. Super, super cool. Or do yourself inventions at home, 3D printing, right? And testing prototypes, entering a bridge, tower companies, work on props or tech backstage for theater. Again, for those who are theater major, you can intersect these interests as well for you guys, right? Next one is there anyone whose child is competitive? Drop a three in the chat. If your child is competitive, they love challenges, they want to push themselves all the time as well too. There we go. We got a lot of people, a lot of kids are very competitive. Love it as well too. So here's some ideas for those as well too, right? Participate in the Science Olympiad, the VEX competition, the first robotics, joining a math or physics competition, joining a hackathon, USACA, Code Force as well, or submit a project for an innovation fairs as well. These are all some ideas to again have you guys start thinking of stuff as well too. Is anyone here child is social, right? Drop a four. Their child is social. They love being with other people. They love working with other people. They want that collaborative environment with others as well too. This is a big one as well too. Big lot of fours. So when it comes to these folks, right? Perhaps you want to have your student think about team-based stuff, right? Team-based robotics and design, coding, driving roles, maker fairs, community events, group science fair projects, volunteering with peers to solve like tech issues as well too. And one more I brought out is anyone here is the child curious? Is your child curious? Let's drop it with number five now, right? Five, drop a five. If your child is curious, they love to explore things as well too, right? Go ahead and drop a quick five. We have a good amount of fives as well too, right? So here's a few things, right? One, you can try online free courses as well too. Keep in mind, don't have to pay for everything. There's free options available too. MIT open courses. MIT has their own open courses. EDX, those are called Coursera. You can watch engineering YouTube channels and replicate the project and shadow somebody, right? This is like a lot of people like don't shadow anyone. I'm like, hey, right? You want to commit to your life. You don't know what an engineer does. Like go shadow someone who can see that, or even explore interdisciplinary fields through reading and camps as well. Right? Keep in mind, this is not an exhaustive list. There are way more things you can do, and I believe in a little bit, Coach Sarah and Coach Michelle's going to share kind of their profiles, and you'll see that they did some of this stuff. They probably did some other things as well. These are just ideas to help you get started. So if you have no clue, I don't know where to start. Right? These are some kind of ideas for you to get started over here. Okay. So with that being said, that's pretty much the 101. Was this so far helpful? Drop a quick yes in the chat, guys. If this so far you've learned at least one thing. If you learned at least one thing, drop a quick yes in the chat. At least one thing. And we're only 1/4 the way done with this training, by the way. This is only a quarter now. So I'm gonna pass it off again. I'm not the star of today. I'm just gonna do the general information. But the stars, we invite two of our best MIT coaches to be with you guys here today. So again, they both prepared a little like presentation, a little breakdown, kind of share with you kind of their backgrounds, their stories as well too. So you can kind of learn from like real life. So that's me. I gave you the theory. Here's the real life examples as well too. So I'm gonna kick it off to Coach Sarah.
Hello. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Yeah. Hi, I'm Sarah. I am one of the coaches here, and I guess I could just kind of walk you through like kind of what I did in high school. Just for reference, I graduated high school in 2018, so it's been a hot second. But yeah, this is just kind of like what I did in high school. Yeah. Yeah. Some a little like quick things things about me is I'm currently a PhD student at Texas A&M, with a focus in like robotics and design, and I got my bachelor's in mechanical engineering at MIT in 2022. Ooh. Um, just kind of a quick breakdown of like the classes I took. Like Coach Tony said, like you really want to show that you have an interest and like a dedication to trying to like learn as much as you can in high school. So this is kind of a list of all the classes I took. Again, from school to school it could be different depending on what your school offers. I just took every like literally any like physics and math class my school offered. I just tried taking as many as I could. But yeah, like I took physics, calc, biostats, computer science, Langlet, like in a couple of humanities classes. So that's just kind of a generic list that I took. So for main extracurriculars, I think Coach Tony actually mentioned both of them that I like the main two that I did, which was robotics, the first program, and science Olympiad. I joined these in my sophomore year, and I can kind of walk you through like what I think like showed like what I think like was like key to like my as I was writing these essays and things like that. So for robotics, I was the outreach captain starting my junior year. And I think a really key thing is we were part of a growing team. So even if our team like didn't score the best in the world, I think being part of this growing team and showing like I was pushing kind of like the boundaries and limits of our team currently, I think really had a lot of impact. So like our team, like my first year, we just went to regionals. My second year, we went to super regionals, like basically like states. And the year after that, we went to world. So showing that like growth of us like putting in effort and growing our program, I think was like showed like kind of like my initiative and how like, you know, I was pushing this team to be like go further. Some key things is like I showed a lot of teamwork, compromise, leadership. These are like kind of topics that you can talk about in your essays later on. Um, we also outreach a lot of engineers and learn about STEM in the real world. So as you're writing these essays, I was able to say like, I met these engineers and I think what they're doing is really, really cool. Like I talked to them and they're doing really cool things rather than this like ambiguous like blob of like, I like the idea of engineering. I was able to say like, I talked to people and I got a lot of like hands-on and like I got to see what they were doing. Like that top image is like me at like JPL, like talking to one of the engineers there. And also a really great thing that first does is it does a lot of outreach. So it's not just technical, but you learn a lot of like the importance of like, you know, outreaching to your community. So we held a lot of summer camps for middle school and elementary school students. We held community events at children's hospitals. And this really shows that like I'm like, you know, STEM isn't just like something that like I want to learn the technicalities of. It's like a community in a world that I'm like interested in investing in, and I want other people to be invested and like learn it, make it as accessible as possible. So those are kind of key things for robotics. It was like my main extracurricular, like many hours in that room. Yeah. And the second kind of big thing that I did was Science Olympiad. I was the treasurer my junior senior year. Again, part of like a really growing team. My sophomore year when I joined, we like didn't make it to states. We got like 15th at regional, didn't do super hot. And then my junior year, we went to states for the first time, but we scored like 15th at state. And then my senior year, like we got fourth at the state level, which is like really huge for the team that like kind of like how it started. So like I was part of like I was joining high school at the cusp of like when all these STEM programs were being built up. So I think that was like a really big thing that I was able to highlight, that I was part of like this team that was like growing these programs even more. So even though we didn't score like first at state or like one first at world, I was able to show like this evolution of growth, which I think was really important. And some like key things I was able to highlight was like learning independent studying, problem solving, the importance of like build accuracy. Like that's something like you can't really do unless you get your hands onto things. And learning to gather and like resources and research, which I think is like something that's really key for like engineering as a whole. So a couple things to note, just some disclaimers, like, again, what Coach Tony kind of mentioned is like, everything's kind of in the context of your school at the time. So you kind of want to be like looking at the top people in your school and seeing what existed in that context. So for me, like Project Lead the Way didn't exist. I think it started my senior year, like they just started Project Lead the Way. So that's like was a big STEM program that I think a lot of people are doing now, but that didn't exist, so I didn't have the opportunity. But if it did exist and I didn't do it, then the school might be questioning like, why didn't she do it if it existed? We had a lot of AP class restrictions. They didn't really let freshmen or sophomores take AP classes. So I know like probably people from other schools have like more than the number I took. But I took what was available to me and like I pushed it to like as far as I could. So yeah, these things are very dependent on your circumstances and your school, based off your location and school especially. So just take that as reference. So like don't use me as the benchmark, I guess. Um, And I guess like something that's kind of fun is like kind of what mechanical engineering looks like. So there's like you got to make a lot of cool products. Like the top left is like a vest we made for like a toy class that I took my freshman year. The bottom is like a yo-yo I was able to injection mold, and the right is like the project I'm currently working on for my PhD, like a rover project. So you get to make really cool things, but it also gets kind of messy. And I think what I really wanted to highlight here was like some things like, yeah, you probably won't have access to a CNC machine, maybe in high school. But some things that we're building here are like kind of like prototypes of things that like are really accessible for you to get now. Like Adafruit and all these things allow you to do these personal projects that like really accessible now. Like this is just like this is like the prototype evolution of like my senior design project. These are just like a bunch of like random breadboards and relays that like probably don't cost super much and you can get into it now. But just like knowing that it kind of gets in, you can it's pretty accessible in terms of like finding the resources and things. It's just a matter of like you wanting to start it and asking the right questions. And also unfortunately, math and physics isn't just like some weird like barrier of function that like is like supposed to like cut people out. We do a lot of math and physics. So that's kind of why they ask you and have those requirements. So I just wanted to say like I still use it today, very relevant. Yeah. So that's kind of what is it? This is like a Segway robot that I built on my sophomore year, junior year. It's all like kind of just like math and controls. And yeah, a lot of the key things that you learn in your AP physics class, geometry class, and like, calc, I very much still use to this day. These are like equations and like, like equations and motions and things that I'm doing to this day. So like, I just want to say like, it's not just to be some weird, like cutthroat, like cut off people, like, civ situation. Like these are things that we do. So this is like, if you're really interested in math and physics, like I feel like if you feel like it's like some like thing that you have to like slump over, like it might not be for you. But if it's something that like is exciting to you, like this is like the stuff that we do today. Yeah, so that I just wanted to have like a quick slide. Oh, that email is no longer relevant. Yeah, but yeah, that's kind of what my high school journey kind of looked like. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. That's super awesome. And I know we have Coach Michelle as well too, with a very similar slide-ish as well too. Coach Michelle, you'll take it from there.
Yeah, I can share my screen. So I guess for some context, like Sarah and I went to the same high school. So when she's talking about like different pathways, like PLTW and different teams that she was on, not really being built up yet. By the time I joined, a lot of those things had been built up. So you'll see like a lot of the things that she was talking about like in my presentation. So just like a quick about me, I'm doing a bachelor's in mechanical engineering with a design concentration, and I'm a class of 2027. So I was in high school like around 3 years ago. And like my main activities were being on the robotics team, the PLTW engineering pathway, a summer program at Carnegie Mellon, and like a biomechanics research team. But I did that for a very short amount of time. And then, how do I? Oh, and then so like from like what Coach Tony was saying, for my learning style, I think I'm a very collaborative learner, which is why like I think I liked joining a lot of teams. And another thing is like I require like a lot of guidance with my learning. Like I like when people can kind of walk me through or give me structure. So for me, that meant that like personal projects weren't a good way for me to learn because I didn't really know what to do next or how to take it further. Um, and I think now with like ChatGPT existing, like using ChatGPT as a resource to be like, hey, like what's a personal project that I can work on, or what are some next steps that I can do? I think it's easier to like build personal projects from there. But like for me, I like when someone is like teaching me or giving me like a curriculum to follow. Like I like that organization. I also like really hands-on experience. So like classes were kind of boring to me. And I liked really applicable engineering, like impact focused engineering. I think some people like making things just for fun, just like cool things that they like, which is totally valid. But I think for me, like unless it's being used in a real life scenario, I feel like it's not like I don't get as into it because I feel like there's not like a strong purpose for it. But I want to get more into like building things that I want to build just for fun and not to like impress people with or not to like use for another purpose. And yeah, I also like learning through teaching. And so I did a lot of like teaching in like the outreach program of my robotics team. And so now I have like an education concentration at MIT. And I just like, I think being able to explain a like process to someone makes you understand the process better. And so like that's how I learned. I think a lot of that guided what I ended up doing. throughout my high school experience. Um, okay, so for school, like Sarah, I took a lot of the same classes, AP Comp Sci, Principles in A, AP Physics 1 and 2, Calc AB, BC, AP Lang and Lit, AP US History, World History. And then this is like the PLTW pathway started existing. So I was in the CS pathway and the engineering pathway. And I also took like AP Stats. And so those are like the core classes that you needed to take at my school to be at a competitive level. Like a lot of these choices, like it wasn't even like I picked based on my interest. It's kind of like everyone else is taking these classes to be on par with everyone that's competitive. You take these classes. And again, like freshmen and sophomores weren't really encouraged to take AP classes. So like I didn't have many AP classes at the time. But if you hear from like other students, they'll say like, oh yeah, I took like 20 APs. And if you're comparing that to like 10 APs, like it's different comparisons because their school restrictions are different. And then we had like an engineering pathway at our school where you got to learn CAD, um, like digital electronics, and at the end you got to like design your final project on whatever topic it or like whatever you wanted to. And for me, like I was really into like assistive technology, like that impact focused engineering. And so I designed like assistive building blocks for kids, and we worked with like professionals and therapists um, to like design these blocks. And that was also something that I ended up talking about, I think, in one of my supplementals. Um, and yeah, so I tried to use this pathway as like taking this pathway really helped me understand like, oh, this is what I like about engineering, this is what I don't. And it was here I think I decided like mechanical engineering was the best field for me. Um, and so in terms of like extracurriculars, I did robotics, I did FTC, and I was the team captain for 3 years. I really was focused on our outreach program because I saw a lot of opportunity in our outreach. And so like what we did was we taught CAD and robotics to a bunch of people, like a bunch of minorities in STEM. And I really like in my essays when in my application to MIT, I really focused on how like growing up, I wasn't given like our school and area didn't have a lot of STEM opportunities, especially at like a younger age, especially like middle school, elementary school. And a lot of our schools in like our area are like Title I schools. They don't get a lot of funding for STEM opportunities. And so I really utilized our robotics team and the funding that we could get to open up these like classes and teach people STEM and get like interested and involved in STEM at an early age. And that was like very motivated by the like lack of opportunities I had as like a middle schooler and elementary schooler. And again, I liked also like working with assistive technology or like building things for people with disabilities. And so like one thing that I got my robotics team and I to do is like build robots that like would deliver gifts to housing facilities or family clinics, and build other things in partnership with organizations that worked with disabled patients. And then we also like hosted a bunch of STEM fairs. So we got to work with aerospace companies, aerospace engineers. We worked with like robotics teams at universities, so like Caltech, uh, like UCLA, like ones that were nearby to us. And so like by this time, I think the team had developed a lot more. And so we did qualify for like the world championship twice, which meant like flying to Texas and competing against like all the best teams internationally, which was just a really cool experience. But that wasn't honestly like an emphasis in my application at all. The fact that we went there was never the focus of my application. I think what I did a lot through robotics and what I learned is like I want to create impact in what I'm doing. And to me, like building a robot to do these tasks that, we have to do is really cool. But beyond that, I think using our skills and what we can do and spreading that to other people was a bigger thing that I learned. And so that was more of the focus in my application rather than like we built really cool robots and we got to compete internationally. Another thing I did was like a summer camp, which was a really cool experience. It was like a 3-week course and it was like fully funded. And so because of that, it was kind of a selective program. But then we did like a final design project where we just like we basically like you could take pictures of different fabrics and through like image detection, it could classify the fabric and like how sustainable it is for the environment. Whatever. It was like a 3-week camp. And so honestly, like I didn't think I learned that much for the camp. It's like 3 weeks, like what can you really learn about AI in 3 weeks? But like the bigger thing I did in this camp was I connected with a lot of really cool people. So there were people from like all around the country, all around the world in this program. And the program was kind of for underrepresented groups, specifically in like CS and AI. And so like I got to meet with a lot of people and we would talk about there's a lot of like lack of opportunity and like experiences like this for people that are like underserved. Like it's hard to get, like this was a 2% acceptance rate program. And so the fact that we got here is like crazy, and we shouldn't be having these barriers for people like that are struggling to find opportunities. Like if you have an interest in STEM, you should be able to pursue it. And so like I worked with a lot of different people that I met through this camp because I don't know, I think all of these people were really driven and passionate about what they were doing. And so I applied for like a bunch of grants and raised money to like send STEM kits to different schools, like the schools that these people went to. And so like they would start STEM clubs with these STEM kits, and we built this like very cool collaborative program. And so like in my essay, when I talked about like this camp, I didn't really talk about, oh, I like went to this really selective summer camp. I talked about meeting really diverse people and being excited to like do stuff with them. And I did stuff with them. And now that I know that I can like do these things with such different people from what I'm used to in my hometown, like I'm excited to go to different colleges and learn new perspectives and do things and like create change with people who have that same drive. And that was like the focus of my application, and not actually the extracurricular, or like not actually the fact that I went to this camp. And then like Sarah, these are like some of the projects that I've worked on in classes. So this is like from all of my MIT classes. So you get to like design and build a lot of things. And like I said, like I'm a very hands-on kind of person. So this is really great for me. And then also like at internships, I'm developing new skills. I'm not just working solely in mechanical engineering, but also like doing tests, running tests, like soldering PCBs and like working with software and stuff. So I really like that there's never a stopping point for your learning. Like you're always able to like try different things and learn new things. And that's kind of why I chose the field of engineering. But yeah, and so you'll notice like there are some things that were offered at my school that I didn't end up doing. Like Sarah did like was really involved in her science Olympiad team. For me, I feel like that wasn't great for my learning experience because it was like kind of a very competitive vibe, and it was taking a lot of exams, kind of studying on your own. And like I was saying with my learning style, like that wasn't good for me. And so like when you're choosing extracurriculars and things you want to do, you don't have to just do what everyone else is doing to stay at a competitive level. I think that applies mainly to classes, but in terms of like extracurriculars, do things that like you enjoy and that you find like, because you don't have a lot of time in high school. And so if you spend time doing extracurriculars that you don't love doing, it's a terrible experience and you don't want to be doing that. And another thing you might notice is like I kind of did some more stuff outside of my school just because I started to notice like everyone at my school was doing the same extracurriculars and getting involved in the same things. And so like all the people that I was on the same teams with, they were all in like the same other competitive teams that I was a part of, and I knew that I needed to like branch out. And so that's what kind of got me looking at summer programs, looking at research teams and other things that I can do to explore more about myself and to gain more experience than like the other students at my school. And so those are like some strategies that you can think about when you're thinking of like what extracurriculars and what things you want to do. But yeah, that's kind of it for me. Um, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that is amazing. I'm always amazed. Engineering, they always do some super cool stuff. I agree? Super cool. Everybody's up the word cool in the chat. Super cool stuff again. And I think everything we're saying, and people think it's a magical formula to a lot of stuff. Like, no, like they did stuff they were, Coach Sarah, Coach Michelle did stuff they were interested about, and they even kind of shared their stuff, right? Again, the classes, not just all engineering stuff. I saw the histories, the AP histories, I saw the AP Englishes as well too, and not just only engineering stuff, but the other things too, right? That they did, and even talked about in their essays. They didn't focus only on the essays, sorry, only on the engineering part, but about the other pieces that matters a lot to them as well too. Okay, so that being said, I compiled a few questions from the chat. Again, if you keep dropping them, guys, if you guys want to share, we'll probably speed round this just to try to get to as many people as we can. I know all three of us have a hard stop where it's if you're watching this live, we're in the middle of app season. And by the way, Coach Michelle and Coach Sarah are two of our amazing essay, and that's kind of why our kids did really well last year as well too at these top schools. So we do have calls right after. So we'll kind of speed run through all this. I kind of grouped them really fast, some MIT questions if you guys can answer, then some general academics and some activity questions as well too. Okay, so first one, is it true that MIT engineering really focuses on students with a math or a science competition awards, ICAF, AMC? Is this a requirement or is there other ways to demonstrate interest or ability?
I think I know a lot of people who did these competitions. I don't think there's like a specific like focus on like taking these students specifically. I think it's more of like, yeah, I don't think you should ever feel like you're required to do an activity. I think what these people probably wrote about in their applications, like I like found something interesting and I really wanted to challenge myself, and they did this program, right? So they didn't really see it as like I had to do this. It's probably that they found it as a challenge that they really wanted to do. So I think that's probably like the approach that I think would be smarter to take. Because if you're like putting your head down into doing an activity that you're not interested in, you're probably not going to be very successful in it. Yeah.
100%. Awesome. Next question here. Does MIT based on specific major, so electrical, mechanical, or do you declare later?
So I think like the first year is all basically core classes, and the second year is where you start to get more into your major, and they don't admit based on major. So you could put whatever major you want, and MIT specifically doesn't admit. I don't believe it admits based on major. And because of that, like it's really easy to like switch between majors later on. Um, Whereas I think that's not common or not the process for UCs and other types of and other colleges.
Awesome. And then this one, what kind of extracurriculars does MIT engineering look for? Would this differ from Stanford engineering?
I think a major focus that like MIT and also all these top colleges is the extracurriculars, but also taking initiative, right? So I think that for like me, for example, like I joined the program when it was really small and I took initiative and helped it grow. Like I found problems within the system, our situation, and I helped grow it, right? For Michelle, for example, with her going through her AI camp, she found a problem and she helped grow it. So it's like taking this leadership and this initiative I think is what really helps um stand out. Because like yeah, we weren't the top robotics school in the nation. We weren't the top science Olympiad school in the nation. But I think people like MIT is aware that people have different circumstances, but seeing like what you're able to do with what you have and like being able to identify problems and growing and taking initiative to grow it, I think is what really like made it stand out. And I'm sure that other schools probably like look for that kind of like leadership and initiative in like during their application cycle as well.
I agree. I think the way to think about it also is like a lot of these colleges, think of them like as businesses, right? They're branding machines, right? Like all of us came from top colleges. We have like I have UC Berkeley branded on me, right? Coach Michelle, Coach Sarah have MIT, and now Coach Sarah also has like A&M as well too, because these schools are making a bet on us that we're going to do really awesome things in the future. Think about it that way as well too, right? So that's kind of why when these schools are looking for initiative, because again, if you can show initiative in high school, who you are doesn't really change, if that makes sense, right? So if you're showing initiative in high school, you're probably going to show initiative in college and do cool stuff. And if you do that in college, you probably do that in the real world, and like post college, right? Real world, even more cool stuff as well. So that's kind of how you want to think of this from a perspective here. Really quick, give a shout to Bao Chi. They also went to MIT. Shout out to you. Went there for their math PhD, 98 to '03 as well too. Awesome. Moving on to some academic questions here. Our high school allows minimum of 5 classes for 11th, 12th grade. Max is 7. To demonstrate rigor, is it necessary to take the max 7 classes, or can you take the minimum 5 and add more activities?
Again, I feel like it's kind of look at other students around you. That's the best in terms of like classes specifically. Looking at other students is the best, I don't know, like guideline. And
Mhm.
even asking like upperclassmen who have just graduated, like people that have just graduated and asking like, hey, like what kind of things were you doing to like surpass this like like this course rigor? People that you know that have gotten admitted to colleges that you want to get into is like the best method, I think. And honestly, like we can't, I think it's hard for us to say like do this and do this because we don't know your school or your situation. But just try and be on par with the rigor that everyone else is at.
100%. A quick little plug though, in case you want us to know your situation, you can go ahead and send us a quick text at 949-775-0865. We can go ahead and give you guys a quick 15-minute coaching call. We can kind of learn more about you on that session, learn the exact context of kind of you guys, and give you some tips. It's not a sales call. You actually can't buy, and if anyone sells you a call, let me know, because our team doesn't sell on this call. If you haven't redeemed that yet, text us 949-775-0865. Just text the word coach me, and our team will know what to do to help you guys get set up there. But yeah, 100%. I think Coach Michelle hit it. Again, your goal is to, again, relative to your school, right? If you're aiming for a top school, you want to do what the top kids do, right? Keep that in mind. That's why I mentioned if you are, because if you're not aiming, and keep in mind, not everyone's aiming for MIT, right? Here, right? Some of us are, but not everyone is. So if you're not aiming for a top school, don't stress yourself out as a top school as well as a student as well too. But if you are aiming, which I assume a lot of us are, you kind of want to match because that's what the schools are comparing you against. Okay. Next one, I think these are two questions that are the same. I think one is AP stats important to take for engineering majors? And some other parent asked, I'm also interested in the answer for AP stats. My school is taking macro econ at local community college because she can't fit AP macro in her schedule as a junior. Thoughts we waived AP art history for school because she doesn't feel it supports her major.
I think AP stats, I think statistics is important in engineering. Like you use it in like manufacturing control, in like data processing. But I do think that like physics and calc are probably like stronger things to take foundationally for engineering versus statistics. Um, and I think for macroeconomics, your local she couldn't fit. Yeah, I think taking it at a community college sounds like a good fit. Like, I think, yeah, if you could squeeze things in during the summers or like at community colleges, I think take advantage of as many things as you can. Um, and yeah, if you feel like, you know, the classes, I think it's, yeah, I think it's most like if you feel like other classes like APR history are like taking place of like classes you think will like let you explore like your field of interest more, I think, yeah, I would prioritize like physics and math. But if like APR history like is just like an add-on like that you can take, maybe you
Mhm.
take that. It's all kind of just relative to like what you want to do and like how much you want to explore your interest. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I think the big thing to keep in mind, it's the rigor then overlay, right? So again, make sure you hit the number of rigor courses first to show that you're taking rigorous courses. Then you can add on the extra classes as well too, right? Something to keep in mind also for especially again, if you are interested in engineering, stats relatively is not as difficult as like a Calc 2, as a multivariable calculus. So that's why you see a lot of students like double dip. They do stats, AP stats, and AP Calc because it's super. Those two are doable in because again, Calc 2, I think it's like Algebra 2-ish like level equivalency around there. So it's definitely doable. So don't feel like oh, it's like, oh no. So if you're taking like multivariable linear algebra, those are pretty tough classes. You can kind of weigh those two, but stats relative to engineer to like Calc is not super complicated. I think we already answered this one as well too. And the next one. We only have 4 years in high school, so not limited to max 2, 3 AP classes in one subject. I can answer this one fast. I think it's relative to your school, right? To your high school as well too. Some schools, we have a student. I think we still have them right now. Their school offers 3 APs ninth grade. That's I don't believe is normal, right? Very non-traditional. Most schools even start APs in 10th grade, if that as well too. So again, it's relative to your school. So again, do what your school allows is number one. But also keep in mind there's also a but part, right? But again, keep in mind, I think Coach Sarah and Coach Michelle, the word initiative, right? Initiative was said a few times. This is again, I also call it being resourceful as well too, right? Again, you might not have the school might not allow it, but can you do more? The answer is always yes, right? Like for example, one of the big things we teach is dual enrollment as well too. Taking college level courses, you can still take them in addition to what you're doing as well too. And one semester dual enrollment counts as a full year AP without even having to pass the test either. So again, you can kind of stack and supplement your schedule, right, with this, and that's an easy way. Hey, my school doesn't offer more, but I want to take more. Then here's another way to do that as well too, right? So again, keep in there's always ways to go around it because again, one thing to keep in mind, your high school counselor is really good at helping you graduate from high school. If you're joining us on this call, I don't think graduating high school is your issue, right? Our goal is to get you guys in the top engineering program is the thing here. Okay. Question here: do you recommend doing AP capstone? Someone answers that one or?
I don't know what that is. I don't know if that was offered, so I don't have any. Do you
Yeah,
know what that is, Coach Tony?
y- yeah, so I think if it's like an AP level class, like AP seminar, AP capstone as well too. Again,
Mm.
same thing. Going back to the rigor again. That's why even notice I never say any specific AP classes, right? So AP rigor is the most. So max rigor, and then as you max the rigor, make sure AP the physics are there and then the math is there. It's kind of like okay, make sure rigor is first. Make sure you max out the rigor, and that, again good analogy going back to both coaches' schedules, right? They both had not just they did have the math, they did have the physics. They had other sciences too, but they also had the AP Lang, AP Lit, AP, I saw AP Euro history, AP US history in their schedules, right? They're taking other classes than just the math and science. So, yes, if it fits, if it makes sense to your schedule. as well too. All right, how many AP classes can you take in just 2 years of school? Up to your school, as well too, right? In theory, you can do six each year if your school allows all six. I don't recommend that. You're not going to sleep a lot, but in theory, right, you can definitely do that as well too here. Okay. This is a non-engineering question. Is calc required for pre-med? Is it required? No, but highly recommended. That's the other path where we recommend up to BC for pre-med. Engineering, I also treat as a minimum for them. And then is taking AP really important for engineering schools? It shows rigor. That's kind of why. That's why you do it. It's not because of the history. It's because the rigor is there. So if you don't take it, there's someone who's doing one more rigor than you is the key. Okay. Activities. If your child does their own thing, like build stuff with their 3D printer, but not part of a club, should they still be included in activities?
Yeah, so I think for me and Sarah, we didn't really do a lot of personal project stuff, but we have like another sister who did do a lot of personal project stuff. She liked to make like guitars out of wood and stuff like that. And so she ended up making like a portfolio. Like you can submit an engineering portfolio where you have like some personal projects you worked on and other things, and you can submit that as an activity. And so if you learn the best in that method, then like feel free to do it. But just for me, like I didn't really know what kind of things I wanted to make.
Of it. Something to keep in mind that all colleges ask you to self-report everything, right? So that's why we always say activities, how I define it is how you spend your time. It's very broad because it is at that, right? Some of you guys like to do clubs, some like to work, volunteering, competition as well too. So it's how you spend your time is think of it in that perspective. So if you're doing stuff again by yourself at home that's related to that, you can share that on your college apps as well too. This one, our school isn't focused on CS engineering, but we have AP CSA, AP CSP, but no robotics and other specific clubs. How do you recommend we taste our major when we don't have available at school?
I think first of all, like take the things that are available to you. And I think this is like, again, like a story of like resourcefulness and like initiative, right? If you're able to start a robotics club, even if it starts off really small, like again, like my robotics club did not score like above and beyond, right? But we were able to show like we were trying, we took initiative, we like outreached as much as we can given our resources. Um, Also like I think there's a lot of like I feel like libraries host a lot of stuff. I think that community colleges host a lot of stuff. I've seen other people who like as high schoolers join like these college, like community college, like like teams, like rocket teams and solar car teams. And usually if you email like a college person, they'll probably like they may won't probably respond, but if you email 10, probably one will respond and like try to, point you into the right direction. Um, yeah. But yeah, I think even interviewing with like professors, graduate students, college, call it like undergrads, like can be just a good place to like dip your toes in, like low commitment, dip your toes in. And then based off of that, you can kind of like see how much deeper you can go.
Awesome, fantastic. I think this was reference to one of you guys who did summer camps. How do you get into summer camps like that? What's the key to get into a selective summer camp?
Honestly, I don't really know how, like, why, like, what the selection process is in the summer camp. In
Mm,
my application, I really highlighted, like, one, some like the skills that I learned in my robotics team, but I also talked about like the struggles that I faced in it, like the fact that I think a lot of people don't look up to like being a woman in STEM and a lot of the pressures that I experienced with that. Also, like coming from a family that can't afford really expensive summer programs, um, like or really expensive like STEM programs at all, I really had to focus on like accessibility and affordability with my or like with whatever extracurriculars I was doing. And so I wanted to like do things like this that could like push me out of my comfort zone, but also be something that like can fit with what like my family can afford to do and like what is accessible for me. Um, and I don't really know why I was selected. I think that like I can say from like what a lot of the other people I met there talked like when we were talking about our applications, we just talked about being very passionate about what we were doing. All of us were somehow related in like teaching STEM back to the community. Um, and that's like something else that we focus in our application. But I think with each camp it's different, and I don't really know what the selection process actually was.
yeah. I, and high level, right? High level answer, I think for this as well too. I think like it's that passion, right? It's a hard word to say because a lot of people aren't as passionate. You guys do things to look good for college. It's kind of why a lot of people do stuff. But you can tell when Coach Sarah and Coach Michelle shares their story, it's not, oh, I'm doing this to get into MIT. Right, you can clearly see that that's not their goal the whole time. They're doing it because one, they love it, they geek out about it, it's because they really enjoy it, and they're really passionate about stuff. So I think when it comes to these apps, it's like a little preview. They know who you are. So when you brag about I did this, that's cool. I can see what you did. Kind of a little tip for seniors, right? When you guys are working your college apps, right? Because we're doing a lot of this right now. What you did is not that special. If that makes sense. Everyone's doing very similar things. The thing that makes you different is you. I want to know why you did what you did, how it made you who you are, who have you become as a result. Same with these programs, right? Everyone's smart, right? Because everyone's smart, everyone's doing so many things. What makes you different is you, right? To showcase, are you the best fit to embody? And they all have different values, different things that they care about. So they want to have students that embody the same things as them. Not saying if you don't have it, you're bad. It's like it might not be a good fit, is all, right? So keeping that in mind here. Do you recommend listing engineering summer camps on your college apps?
Yes, you should list
Yes.
everything you can. Yeah.
And I think that that's a good takeaway too. List everything you can, right? Even if something small, as well, a lot of our seniors are now. Even if it's like, oh, I did that one time, share it on your app, right? If the readers don't know you did it, they won't. If you don't put it, the readers won't know you didn't. Is all right. My
Yeah, and
daughter, soup.
actually, can I
Go
quickly add
ahead.
one more thing?
Yeah,
Like
go ahead.
sometimes there's like a limit to the number of activities that you can include. So like for the MIT application, you can only actually include 4 activities. And so like the way that I included other things that I did is I would label like a general thing I've done. I would be like explored assistive technology and then list different projects in the description section. So I was showing like different projects I worked on while only listing that as one activity. And so like sometimes you will be limited. You have to pick the best ones, but there's also like strategies to how you describe those things.
Awesome. Cool. My daughter super committed to soccer and couldn't join PLTW. Will that hurt her chance?
I think it's a matter of, again, like her showing passion. And I think I've had people who like there were robotics team that existed and they did theater. But I think it was clear that they showed passion. And I think it's a little harder to demonstrate like love for engineering if you're doing like soccer versus like, like an actual engineering thing. But I think there's ways you can like, write it in such a way that you're like these aspects of soccer, like I'm interested in like putting into engineering. There's like ways to kind of stretch the story to be able to show like I'm learning these like generic skills that maybe aren't like engineering skills, but like will apply to engineering. So it's kind of a matter of like how you word your essay later on. I think they just want really passionate people who like it's easier to show passion for engineering if you did engineering, but I think just passionate people who like love what they do at the end of the day.
I think to add on to that as well too, I think again, do you need that? You don't need to do anything, right? As well. This is just one extra thing. It's an easy lever to show the interest as well too. But it's again, I listed a bunch of other ways to show interest as well too. And even soccer, how many hours you spend in soccer? That's one activity. You have a lot more time to spend on other things as well too, right? So it's not like an or. It's this and what else and what else. It's always an and problem for a lot of these questions here. Like we have a last question again. If we didn't get to your question, apologies. If you want to go ahead and just text us your question, we'll go ahead and get to it. Just text the question, text the word Coach Tony, and it'll go straight to me, and I'll answer it for you guys as well too. Okay. Last one here is growing a sports program that's not provided showing initiative, even though it is not related to engineering.
Yeah, so I think that if you're able to show any initiative that you have, that's good. Like leadership opportunities are good and it doesn't have to be related to engineering. But the bigger thing is like if you're going to apply as an engineering major, you have to have some experience in engineering on your application. Because like why do you know that you like engineering if you're just like you just have all of these other activities that have nothing to do with engineering and you're like, "Oh, well, I like engineering." It's like not about like how the number of engineering activities you do, but like from those things that you have done why have you realized that engineering is the right thing for you? And so even like with the soccer question, you can commit a lot of hours to soccer, but do you have any other experiences or opportunities where you can explore engineering and show that like I did this experience and from this I liked these aspects and that's why I know I want to do engineering. And that's much more important than like, do I have enough correlated activities to my major?
Awesome. Cool. That's pretty much it for us today. I probably have to do a hard stop. We have another call right now as well, too. But thank you, everyone, for joining. If you guys liked it, drop a quick yes in the chat if this was a good training for you guys. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to text us, 949-775-0865. If you want my notes, text me there as well, too. Our team can hand you guys our notes, okay? That being said, thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Coach Michelle. Thank you, Coach Sarah. Amazing as always. And then I'll see you guys on the next call. Bye, everyone.